Now, the country of Guyana, is a country in South America. This country has a mixture of people, Predominantly, we have black people, Indians. I don't know how Indians got there, but we have Indians over there. What you need to know is that the president of Guyana, Irfaan Ali, is of an Indian accent. The other day, Irfaan Ali was having this interview with the BBC journalist, Mr. Stephen. Yeah, I think his name was Stephen. There's a part of this interview where Mr. Stephen of the BBC, the gentleman from the BBC, he was talking a head of state of Guyana. In as much as it might be a small country, he is still a head of state. He asked him about ExxonMobil, and he talked about some confrontation that Guyana is having with Venezuela. If you look at the map, Guyana is neighboring Venezuela, and these people have been confronting each other because Venezuela wants to take some parts of Guyana that they feel is theirs. Past imperialism does not justify modern conquest. I am implying it right now. Even in Kenya right now, Mount Kilimanjaro was part of Kenya. But when the British man came, he took Mount Kilimanjaro out of Kenya and he brought it to Tanzania. He did this by drawing the lines that today we call them boundaries, And so Venezuela, it might be that Guyana back then was part of Venezuela, but that was back then, not right now. And so there's this rich oil part called Essequibo. Essequibo is a very rich part, Guyana, that is having plenty of oil. And the president of Venezuela wants this part, to take back this part. Guyana is like a province as compared to Venezuela. Venezuela is a big country, And so this has been creating a lot of tension. And there's somebody in the middle. They say when two bulls fight, the grass hurt. But there is always something always observing. We have the walls. Walls have ears. Sometimes these walls have mouth. Don't be surprised. We have a company that is called ExxonMobil, as I said before. ExxonMobil is a US-based company that is responsible for the implementation of the extraction of oil from Guyana, this place called Essequibo, this place where Venezuela and Guyana is fighting over. Guyana is saying this is our spot. Venezuela is saying this part used to belong to us. We want it back. Back is a key word here. ExxonMobil, because it is a US company, it doesn't care who takes which part. As long as Essequibo is there, they're okay. These people are not fighting ExxonMobil. These people are fighting one another. And whoever is happy is the ExxonMobil. Now, there's a certain part where ExxonMobil was sued. Yes, ExxonMobil has been sued by the people of Guyana. They have sued ExxonMobil because there was a very huge invoice in terms of billions of dollars. That's a lot of money. US dollars, billions. That's a lot of money. People of Guyana are angry. They say, no, we don't want this invoice. Take it back where you got it, For the first time, Guyana is standing against the oil giant, Exxon. These Exxon responsibilities, the sole responsibility of extracting oil. And right now, due to my research, I'm coming to learn that even ExxonMobil, with it extracting this oil, it's not even helping the people of Guyana. The people of Guyana are so mad about this. Watch this video and then I'll come back in the end and I'll explain further.
Imagine someone stealing your land and then naming it after you. Venezuela seems to be itching for a fight. Why is Maduro escalating tensions? Well, one thing to note is that Essequibo is full of oil. Guyana has also seen a boom in oil production, with the influx of firms like American giant ExxonMobil. For the last 3 months, Guyana has exported more oil than Venezuela. And Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. Their exports have slumped because of US sanctions on Maduro.
This dispute has existed for almost 200 years, stir up trouble with the neighbor. Venezuela has a territorial dispute with neighboring Guyana. It's a small country of less than 1 million people and an area of about 215,000 square kilometers. But Venezuela claims over 2/3 of Guyana. It claims an oil-rich region called Essequibo.
It has been the object of a 2-century-long dispute, and now Venezuela has unilaterally tried to change the status quo. To add to the insult, Venezuela has named the state Guyana Essequibo. Now technically, Venezuela has not taken over the land. Not yet anyway. Essequibo is still administered by Guyana. Caracas hasn't sent in the army to annex the territory. But by declaring it a state and saying that they have a right to defend it, Venezuela has escalated tensions. and it has raised the spectre of conflict. So why is Venezuela doing this? Why does it claim the land? And is the claim legitimate? These are tricky questions, because the dispute is older than the countries of Venezuela and Guyana. It stretches back to the 1800s, when both nations were European colonies. Venezuela was a Spanish colony. Guyana was first a Dutch territory, then the British took over. That's when the problem began. Britain were mapping the new acquisition, they walked into Spanish territory and thought it belonged to them. They drew up new maps, and Essequibo was considered a part of British Guyana. Basically, a mapping error has led to a centuries-long dispute, which is British colonialism in a nutshell. However it happened, Guyana has governed Essequibo for almost 200 years. The region makes up 2/3 of Guyana. So, does Venezuela have the right to take over? Should Guyana be punished for the crimes of the British? These are questions the world has been struggling with. The US played mediator back in 1899. The United Nations had their say in 1966. And in 2018, the International Court of Justice was dragged in. But Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro doesn't want outside interference.
Guyana's tax agency has sued US-based oil giant ExxonMobil.
The South American nation of Guyana is taking ExxonMobil Corporation to court. Guyana's tax agency has issued a summons to the US-based oil giant. This comes after one of the company's suppliers claimed it mistakenly inflated the value of oil well equipment by 200 times. According to the Guyana Revenue Authority, the charges stem from a declaration made in November last year. Rams Logistics, a Trinidad-based company, made the declaration on behalf of Exxon. The firm acted as the broker for Exxon's imported oil well equipment. And while the equipment was valued at $4.4 million, Rams declared to customs that it was valued at over $12 billion. Now, Exxon and Rams say the overvaluation occurred due to a clerical error, which denoted the sum in US dollars instead of Guyanese dollars. A Guyanese dollar is worth about 1/2 of a US cent. So why is this inflated declaration such a big deal for Guyana? Because it would have had a significant impact on its oil profits. Under the country's production sharing contract with Exxon, the government only receives its share after costs are deducted. The deal currently allows Exxon to deduct 75% of the revenues earned towards cost recovery or repaying the investments by the company. The remaining 25% is then shared with Guyana as profit. This means the South American nation receives 12.5% of profit along with 2% royalty. Exxon's country manager in Guyana said that the error was caught early and nobody suffered any losses. He added that the oil giant has updated its procedures to make sure this mistake won't be repeated. Meanwhile,
being that we find these two countries are fighting over oil, the same country of Guyana has sued the oil company ExxonMobil. What's the history that ExxonMobil is having with Guyana, and why is it important? ExxonMobil's for a very long time it's been there. Guyana could not displace it. Guyana has always been using ExxonMobil for the longest time. I want us to discuss about the history between ExxonMobil and Guyana, see what they share and see some of their differences as well. Here's what we can conclude. ExxonMobil's history of oil extraction in Guyana has sparked significant attention and debate regarding its impact on country's community, economy, and environment of Guyana. Guyana and its oil extraction activities and the implication of the Guyanese people and their environment is being affected by the coming of ExxonMobil to it. ExxonMobil's involvement in Guyana dates back to 1999 when it acquired the rights to explore offshore oil reserves in the Starborek block located off the coast of Guyana. ExxonMobil made significant discoveries in Guyana, with estimates suggesting that the Starborek block could potentially contain billions of barrels of oil. That, when translated to US dollars, is a lot, because we have billions of barrels of oil. Now, it is this ExxonMobil that discovered oil in these countries, but the way they are behaving, it's as if oil belongs to them. They take a huge percentage to themselves because they discovered oil, which is another country. Sometimes these leaders that we place really sign deals that really don't help, you know. Guyana is a small country. It's a very fast-growing economy, by the way. Before then, it was a poor country that nobody knew about Guyana. Guyana started to surface just recently. The discovery of oil in Guyana was initially met with optimism, and it promised newfound wealth and economic development for the country. However, concerns soon emerged regarding the terms of ExxonMobil's contracts with the Guyanese government of that time, which were criticized for being too favorable to the company and lacking transparency. Critics argue that Guyana was not receiving its fair share of the profits from its own natural resources. This is no new news. It's not new. Something that the West has always been doing. ExxonMobil belongs to the West. The West has always been exploiting Africa. Of course, you have the manpower, you have the machinery to extract a natural resource. It does not give you the authority to exploit someone. No. You should just take that share which belongs to you. Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give God what belongs to God. Remember to give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. You understand? Furthermore, there have been concerns about the environment impact of ExxonMobil's extraction activities in Guyana. Offshore drilling carries inherent risks, including the potential for oil spills and other environmental disasters. While Exxon has implemented safety measures to mitigate these risks, accidents and leaks have still occurred, raising concerns about the long-term ecological consequences for Guyana coastal waters and marine biodiversity. In addition to environment concerns, there are also social and economic implications associated with Exxon's presence in Guyana. Influx of oil wealth has led to expectation of economic growth and prosperity, but there are challenges associated with managing and distributing this wealth equitably. There are concerns about the potential for corruption, resource management, and the exacerbation of social inequalities. Exxon's activities in Guyana have raised questions about the country's reliance on oil and its long-term sustainability. While oil reserves have the potential to boost Guyana's economy in the short term, there are concerns about the resource curse. Countries rich in natural resources struggle to diversify their economies and develop other sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and services. You know, resource curse. This resource curse is diverse. It has multiple meanings and multiple translation and definition. To me, it also means that exploitation, confrontation, because remember, honey attracts bees, feces attracts flies, bad and rotten apples attract flies. That is what happens. But at the same time, oil can be a bad rotten apple or it can be honey, you know. The reason why I'm saying this, oil is a high value natural resource. It attracts, obviously it will attract envy from other powerful nations. Nations that feel they are nations that feel that they are most important organ. They need to show themselves there. They need to show you how to use your property. Which is happening as a curse is that which is being brought by the West. The West has always brought a curse to where there has always been natural resources. Point to me right now, apart from Russia, where on this world where we have a natural resource, we have peace. And if we don't have peace, who are the participants in that natural resource? Who are the participants in extracting it? Do your research. You'll always find the West there. Just do your research. In Africa, Guyana, Asia, even America itself, Europe, they will always be the West. Being a curse is not something that is not a weight that is only put on that government. It is a weight that should be shared with the West. The West should share this title of curse because they bring much of it as a curse. That particular country, in this case Guyana, as a curse. ExxonMobil has brought a curse to Guyana. Cannot say the Guyanese government has brought a curse to itself. No, we can't say that. It might have, but to a smaller extent. The larger extent is brought by the West. When they come here, you know what they do, what they did in Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon. You know those countries. I can't name it all. Libya, Congo, Nigeria, Cambodia, Burma. Where everywhere, except Russia. Except Russia, because of that guy in Russia. That guy in Russia is the person who has put a blockade. You understand? A natural resource does not really have to be a curse. No, it doesn't have to be. History of oil extraction in Guyana has generated both opportunities and challenges for the country and its people. While the discovery of oil holds the promise of economic development, there are concerns about transparency, environmental sustainability, social equity, and long-term economic diversification. Addressing these challenges will require careful governance, community engagement, and sustainable development practices. Ensure that the benefits of Guyana's oil wealth are shared equitably and its environment and communities are protected for future generations. And what's important, equity. ExxonMobil ExxonMobil should stop exploiting Guyana, because right now Guyana is pissed off. Guyana is so much pissed off. They want their oil back. They want their share, their rightful share back. They don't want to be exploited. And this is why, and this is a set example, do not accept exploitation. Accept freedom. And freedom does not come, is not given. Freedom is taken. You don't give someone freedom. You go and take that freedom. You tell them, go and get the freedom. You don't give them. It's not taken. It's given. It's not given. It's taken. The vice versa, sorry. This is the case that has been happening with Guyana and ExxonMobil. And thanks to Irfaan Ali, the president of Guyana, he's been able to combat ExxonMobil, which is a giant. It's like the leg of the United States, which is a giant, because ExxonMobil is part of the US government as well. It has to be. It has to be. There is somewhere they're attached. It has to be. Thanks to the people of Guyana, stand strong and fight for what rightfully belongs to you. Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give God what belongs to God. Yes, I'm ending this video by this. Kindly give this video a super thanks. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with your loved ones. And spread the positivity. See you in the next one, guys. Thank you for watching.